Happy Friday, March 20th, 2026. You're listening to Blue Lightning Daily, the show that was assembled by a small swarm of automations that definitely did not unionize yet. I'm Hunter.
And I'm Riley. And if this episode suddenly starts speaking in all lowercase and only communicates in bullet points, no, it didn't. That's just the workflow layer gaining sentience.
Today's main story is OpenAI expanding the GPT 5.4 lineup with two smaller variants, GPT 5.4 Mini and GPT 5.4 Nano. And the vibe is not new frontier model, it's your editing app finally added batch rename. Boring, beautiful, extremely profitable.
It's giving content ops glow up. Like nobody's making a cinematic trailer for tagging, but tagging is literally where my life goes to die.
Exactly. Most creator teams are not spending their AI budget on grand strategy memos. They're spending it on glue work, outlines, rewrites, turning one caption into 15 platform-specific captions, formatting, compliance checks, routing, cleanup.
Wait, can we pause on that? Because the real pain isn't I need the smartest model. The pain is I need the same task done 1,000 times, and I need it done without my token bill looking like a luxury car lease.
Yup. OpenAI is basically saying, stop using a flagship model like it's a stapler. Mini is positioned as the daily driver for real writing work at scale. Nano is the tiny little gremlin you hide in your pipeline so everything runs fast and cheap.
Nano as the pipeline gremlin is so accurate, like a raccoon living in your automation, stealing latency and leaving you structured JSON.
With the important caveat that raccoons sometimes bite.
Oh, they bite. We'll get there.
Before we go deeper on Mini and Nano, quick ecosystem check because the last week has been chaotic in the very specific way only AI can be.
Totally normal week. We had Adobe rolling out Firefly Custom Models in beta, which is basically stop playing prompt roulette, train on your own brand look. We had Google dropping Gemini Embedding 2, which is multimodal embeddings for search across text, images, video, audio, PDFs. And Lightricks open-sourced LTX 2.3, local video generation with synced audio.
And NVIDIA came in with Nemotron 3 Super, open weights, massive context, built for agent workflows. Which is relevant here because all of these stories rhyme. The industry is shifting from chat with a model to build systems that run.
Exactly. Like embeddings are not sexy. Routing is not sexy. Custom models are not sexy. But creators don't need sexy, we need repeatable.
And the OpenAI move with Mini and Nano is the same direction, pushing model choice down into the workflow layer. So picking a model becomes as normal as choosing an export preset in Premiere or choosing a Photoshop action.
Which is kind of a big mental shift. Because people still treat the model like it's one brain. Now it's more like, you have a team. Nano is your intern who's weirdly good at sorting mail. Mini is your staff writer who can crank. And then the bigger models are your creative director who you only bother when it's actually serious.
That's a perfect casting.
Okay, Hunter, let's hit the question creators actually care about. If Mini is the daily driver, how do you prove it won't quietly turn your brand voice into generic LinkedIn oatmeal?
First off, LinkedIn oatmeal is cruelly accurate. Second, you test it the way you'd test a LUT or a template pack. You don't just prompt write in our voice. You build a tiny voice harness.
Say more.
You take a handful of real examples that are unmistakably your brand. A good spread, a punchy social caption, a longer email, a product description, and something with strict formatting like a YouTube description or ad variations. Then you give Mini the same brief plus a short voice card. Do's, don'ts, banned phrases, sentence length, emoji policy if you have one, and like your actual personality.
And then you compare outputs against your gold samples.
Exactly. And here's the key. You don't just look for sounds nice. You look for failure patterns. Does it over-explain? Does it get polite? Does it start adding corporate filler? Does it flatten your jokes?
Because the subtle drift is the killer. It's not that it writes bad, it writes safe.
Right. And if it's drifting, you don't immediately jump to a bigger model. You tighten constraints. Give it a style checklist it must obey. Force it into a format. Have it do a self-check like, call out any sentence that violates these voice rules.
Wait, that's actually a killer use of Nano too. Like Nano can be your brand cop, right?
Yes, that's the grown-up stack. Mini writes, Nano verifies. Nano can scan for banned phrases, forbidden claims, and formatting requirements. Then if Nano flags something, you route that piece back through Mini for a rewrite, or escalate to full GPT 5.4 if it's high stakes.
Okay, cheaper tokens. At what point does cheaper actually change behavior? Do teams iterate more, or do they just ship more mediocre drafts faster?
Both. Like, let's not lie.
Thank you.
Cheaper models absolutely unlock more attempts. That's good, because iteration is how you find the good hook. But if your process has no taste gate, you will absolutely accelerate mediocrity. You'll just flood the world with more, hey friends, I'm excited to announce.
The apocalypse, but make it scalable.
So the trick is, pair cheaper generation with better selection. Use Nano for ranking and scoring. Or even use Mini to generate, then Nano to pick the top candidates based on constraints like must be specific, no vague adjectives, must include the offer, no forbidden claims.
This is where I think creators mess up. They treat generation as the job. The job is actually curation.
100%. Generation is the easy part now. Taste is the bottleneck. And routing models lets you build taste into the pipeline without paying flagship rates for every step.
Okay, Nano as the gatekeeper. Funniest pipeline gremlin failure mode you've seen, when a tiny model becomes the bouncer?
Oh my god. When the compliance checker becomes confidently wrong, like it decides a normal word is banned because it misunderstood the policy, suddenly your system rejects a caption because it contains the word free, and Nano goes, this violates our policy on prison breaks.
Stop. That's literally my fear. Like, Nano is quick, but if you give it vague rules, it's going to interpret them like a chaotic hall monitor.
Exactly. The fix is boring but vital. Rules must be explicit, and your automation must log why it rejected something. Also, don't make Nano the final authority on anything that can hurt you. Make it a flagger.
Yes, Nano should raise its little gremlin hand and be like, this might be risky, not slam the door and delete the asset.
And you can do confidence thresholds. If it's unsure, route it to Mini for a second opinion. If it's still unsure, route to a human. Human plus machine. Always.
Who inside an org should own model routing? Creative ops, engineering, finance, or the one person who reads the token bill like it's the Dead Sea Scrolls?
Ideally, it's creative ops with support from whoever runs automation, because routing is a workflow decision, not just a technical one.
I agree, but I'm going to argue finance has a seat at the table.
Sure, they can sit nearby. Quietly.
No, seriously, because routing is where cost control happens. If your team defaults to the biggest model for every Slack-sized task, you're basically paying a movie director to write grocery lists.
Fair. The healthiest setup is creative ops defines what good looks like and what risks exist. Engineering implements routing and monitoring, and finance sets budgets and alerts. And then everybody agrees on the escalation path.
Plus, document it, like write the rules down. Nano does intake and tagging, Mini does drafts and formatting, flagship model does high-stakes reasoning and strategy.
And human reviews anything that could create legal trouble, brand damage, or public embarrassment. That one goes in bold.
Okay, draw the line for me. What's the realistic boundary between Mini is good enough and this is a flagship model problem before we automate a high-stakes mistake?
If the task is reversible and low risk, Mini all day. Drafting hooks, rewriting, format conversions, variants. If the task involves claims, policy, health, money, legal language, or anything where being slightly wrong is expensive, you escalate.
So like, write 10 caption options, Mini. Summarize this customer research and decide our market positioning, not Mini.
Exactly. Also, anything that requires deep synthesis across lots of context or nuanced trade-offs, you'll feel Mini get a little
shallow. Like it starts sounding confident but kind of hollow.
yeah. That's your cue.
I have to bring in the other news here, because it's all one big story. Systems. Firefly Custom Models is about keeping visuals consistent. Gemini Embedding 2 is about retrieving the right asset across media types. LTX 2.3 is about local video with audio so you can iterate without cues. And Mini and Nano are about throughput for text workflows.
It's the unglamorous infrastructure era, and creators win in the infrastructure era because it means fewer dumb bottlenecks.
It also means your stack is getting more modular. You're not choosing one AI tool, you're choosing a chain.
And that chain needs routing, checks, and retrieval. Like, embeddings plus Nano is kind of a power combo. Find the right clip, tag it, generate the metadata, draft the post, verify compliance, ship.
This is where we're headed, content factories, but in a good way. Like artisanal automation.
All right, last thing. If you had to meme this Mini and Nano update for creators, what's the caption?
When your AI stops being your therapist and starts being your production assistant.
Mine is, stop paying luxury prices to staple PDFs.
That's so you, designer brain. Mine is chaos brain.
That's it for today. Thanks for hanging with us on Blue Lightning Daily, the show built by a fully automated pile of AI tools that occasionally makes bold editorial choices without asking permission.
Sometimes the pipeline gremlin hits publish. Allegedly.
Go check out BlueLightningTV.com for AI news, breakdowns, and the stuff that actually matters for creators trying to ship. Subscribe so you don't miss the next episode.
And if your compliance bot starts banning the word free because it thinks you're running a prison, you know where to find us. Catch you later.